This is Cotton Soups and welcome back to another Lumion Legacy HTUC video, and today's video is on Gargolem Defensive. Finally, I am making the video on the last Gargolem, so let's talk about it. From counters and checks to teammates, as well as the sets and roles Gargolem can play, and the weaknesses and resistances, this video will teach you how to use and counter Gargolem. First thing you must know is the role that Gargolem defense plays. I already know I said defense, but you still have to know this because its base stats are pretty important. It's mainly not going to be hitting the hardest. Actually, it's one of the lowest hitting roamers and of course Lumions for any fully evolved ones. Its 65 speed tier is on par with stuff like Parolin, I'm pretty sure Setamars and Himber. It's not the fastest thing in the world, so it's going to take a lot of hits before it does damage. And of course its HP is still very low. However, it does have the highest defensive stats in the game and 100 energy. 100 energy is above average, but it is slower or lower than some roamers, which is not really the best, but it's still pretty good for any Lumion. So, what role does Gargolem defense play? It's a wall. So with that out of the way, let's talk about its weaknesses and resistances. Defense's typing is Earth and Air. It's basically the most brain dead typing ever. Water and Plant are its only two weaknesses. It does have 3 resistances to Brawler, Bug, and Toxic. Toxic types like Snagoop, Swolder, Venilin, Bug types like Harvestec and Swolder, and Deladrix, and Brawler types like C.B.O and Wrestlin. It does have a major weakness to Ice, so Mocho, Tongilin, Himber, Wintrix are going to be some great stuff to use against Gargolem. And of course, it does have 2 immunities to Electric and Earth. Earth types like Borax, Cinemar's Tyrex, as well as electric types like Joltooth, Meditoad, Helvantic, Zulong is some pretty good stuff to switch in on and walls. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Gargolem sets. Isaac's defense set will be the main one, and of course it's Isaac newbie, go sub to him. Personality will be clever, and I know Immunize is there. Basically Immunized is basically the best because you don't want to get poisoned. And Status, which is pretty nice. And Clever is the boost are better stat. I'm pretty sure that you have better matchups against range attackers and not melee attackers, so Clever is what I would go for. And of course, Slapdown, Driving Force, and Bars will be your main set of moves, and of course you can run Landslide or Jetstream. Landslide is my perfect move, 4th move slot, because well, Landslide, it is more offensively pressuring than Jetstream. And of course you can run Bane of Haste. It's not really the best thing on a regular Gargolem, but Gargolem in doubles with Bane of Haste is actually pretty nuts because Gargolem is really bulky, has one of the best defensive typings, and Bane of Haste is generally really good if you do have the right teammates. And the Health Amulet will be your main and only item. I would prefer this over anything else, mainly because Gargolem has no Rejuvenate or anything like that, so it's gonna get hard for Gargolem to keep switching in over and over. No matter how high your defenses are, you still need recovery. And the TP's 192 HP is for odd HP, which lets you get 3 hit KO'd by Icicle Traps. I'm not sure why it says the speed there. Please don't kill me. And 152 range defense is to live a very smart douse from Deladrix, and anything under that, that's super effective. 152 melee defense is leftovers, and 4 energy is leftovers as well. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the counters and checks and the teammates. Defensive counters and checks to Gargolem is pretty simple. You just want to run stuff that can switch in on it and hit it super effectively. Water and ice types are going to be the main Lumions to use here. Tsukame, Barblast, Banfino, and Maomerc all have really good matchups against this one. It's mainly a really long matchup, but it gets the job done. And however, I wouldn't really recommend defensive checks to Gargolem, mainly because it's too bulky, and most of these guys do not hit it super effectively as much as the offensive stuff. Tsukame and Banfino are the exceptions to this, as well as Tongilin being a pretty good one because it is a nice type and it is a melee wall. It's not really the best against the range attacking side, but of course it's too weak to hit Tongilin very well with the range attacking anyway. And Stratosaur is here because it is resisting Landslide and Jetstream, which is pretty nice, and also it can get rid of Barbs. However, offensive counters is also pretty simple. You just want to run stuff that can hit it super effectively. The same guys you will be here from the last video. Of course, ice types are still the main of the game, and Brawler and water types are still pretty good also. So yeah, there's just not much to say about this one. Offensive teammates to Gargolem is pretty simple, just like the other ones. A lot of these guys can hit these walls that I said earlier super effectively. For example, the Brawler, the Electric types, and the Fire types are all pretty good. And you also see some Bane of Haste staples like Ikazune, well not Ikazune anymore, but Colossotrops, Joltooth, and Pyrolin, as well as Meditoad. They're all pretty good Bane of Haste wise. I would recommend Joltooth or Meditoad for this, and also Pyrolin, Colossotrops can be pretty good as well. And C.B.O, even stuff like C.B.O can also work pretty well because it does have that good one-turn damage. So yeah, if you don't want to run Bane of Haste, then these guys are of course pretty serviceable. So yeah, and finally, the defensive teammates, they're pretty simple as well. You just want to run a lot of defensive walls. Now obviously these aren't the only options, these are just the ones that came to mind at first because they do resist water, plant, and ice all very well. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's talk about the conclusion and my thoughts on defensive Gargolem. So overall, I think defensive Gargolem is pretty good. There is some problems that I have with it. The fact that it does nothing offensively and it basically relies on driving force to take out defensive stuff out of the battle, which is not really the best thing going for you, but still, it's still really bulky, and it does have barbs, which is pretty nice. And it does have slapdown utility, which is pretty good also. I just have trouble finding this pretty good because, well, I wouldn't use this personally. I guess there is some reason to use it because slapdown and barbs, but there are already pretty good barb setters like Searnite and Wobblisk. And while it does have being the Bane of Haste title, I don't really know if that's a good thing because right now most people don't play double battles, and I don't think they're going to unless they're given a reason to. So yeah, that's just my opinion though. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're into these kind of videos. I do make other videos like this, and I've made videos on the 3 other Gargolems. So yeah, that's basically it. And of course remember that Zulong is still a dumpster fire.